So, we we're here, and it's totally Saturday morning, for sure.
Yeah.
It's not Tuesday afternoon.
It's not Tuesday at 2:20 p.m.
No.
It's
Okay.
Saturday. I ate my cereal just now.
I currently am pouring it.
I'm eating my cereal. I'm really
That's
good
the
at
milk.
talking and eating at the same time. Yeah.
That's the milk. You just heard them, and then all right. There's the Cheerio or Fruit Loops. That's the best one.
Yeah. Oh heck yeah, Fruit Loops.
Yeah. Okay.
So, that's what I always eat.
So anyway, yeah. So it's Saturday, and I sit down and I open a show that Alex managed to binge 12 episodes of in 2 days, which is mad impressive. Yeah. So this week.
I didn't have any time, but
Well,
it was worth it.
This week we watched Initial D, and I say this week in a slightly sarcastic manner because I've been watching this show for 2 weeks and convinced him to watch it for this week. I'm currently on
I wouldn't say
episode.
convinced.
Not convinced. It's
I wouldn't
one
say
that I feel like
convinced.
everyone
it's a show
should
that I've
watch.
wanted to watch. Yes.
Yeah.
I've wanted to watch it for a while, but then you're like, oh, we should watch that. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah. So I am on episode, I think, 28 now.
Okay. Like episode 4 of season 2.
Yeah, but it still says episode 28. It doesn't say like episode 12 of season whatever.
Okay, so yeah, it's not like a season thing.
Because
I thought it was, but
so the way that the show's breaking down is it's stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's like battles, and then there's the final stage. I'm still on stage 1, I believe.
Goofy. Yeah, first stage, second stage, extra stage, third stage, fourth stage.
It's a little bit ridiculous.
That's the most anime progression I think you could ever find.
It's a show from the late 90s, which I have a hard time believing that this show has so much traction. I don't know. I really enjoy it, but it's just like the racing genre has this show, and that's kind of it.
Well, that's what's funny is like I remember this show having a lot of relevance, like several years ago. But even
it
nowadays,
ended in
you don't hear
2014.
anyone... It did. But even so, I'm just thinking I'm just surprised that it took him as long as it did. I mean, so okay, let's see. Is this the right one, or is that's the movie? I'll look at the movie. The movie is not what I'm interested. Yeah, it came from 1998. Is the original adaptation. That's what I was trying to find.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you can tell.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
oh,
I feel like it had like a lot of cultural relevance. 'Cause even like I look back on Vines, and 2 songs from the show are really prominent in Vines.
Which ones?
Because they have Deja Vu. It's one of the theme songs, Deja Vu.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to it yet, and I'm so excited for it.
I think it's the later one, yeah. And then there's another one that's actually from. It's not like a prominent song, but it's like a background song when they're really racing. That I hear all the time in like memes of people like it's like you've seen the memes where like people be speeding up and like walking around doing whatever. It's like that really high pitched, like kind of that high pitched Eurobeat kind of sound. It's
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the song's called, so I can't say what it is. But
I'm not too familiar,
saying,
but
I
can understand it. Yeah. It's
very prominent. So it's just funny how it has that kind of cultural relevance that it does when you say Initial D, people are like, I don't know what that is.
But you quote those songs and people do. It's really interesting because the show is coming from a very strong era. Like we're talking the beginning of the
90s.
boom. Yeah, like
that was One Piece, Cowboy Bebop, huge stuff.
And I think that's why people don't realize it, especially when you talk about like 90s anime. That's why it doesn't have a lot of name recognition, is because it's coming from such a powerful era of anime. And it takes a backseat. And honestly, it's like it follows to a T a lot of anime tropes, as you've probably seen. Just like every main character in that show is teenage boy, and they just are anime teenage boy.
I can appreciate the main character.
The sociopath?
See, at least at the point where I'm at, he's not a sociopath.
Well, I mean sociopath in the fact that this man feels no emotion, including happiness. Like, his entire demeanor is just like, I guess I can race.
Yeah. It's not. I would say it's like sociopath, because sociopaths, we don't care about other people.
Psychopath.
But no, I don't know.
Wacko.
But yeah, he's just not. he's just kind of driving's cool, I guess.
But not even driving school. It's like
That's-
every time he's driven, it's been because he happens to be there. The first time that he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna drive.
Real quick, before we say anything, we probably want to flag spoilers for this.
Spoilers.
Because
Well,
there probably will be.
in '98, this is your bad if you haven't seen it. I'm gonna be real with you.
Yeah, no, it's you don't miss much.
This
It's
is from
driving.
1998. You're bad, yeah. So, anyway, yeah. So the one time he wants to drive, and I don't even think you've gotten to this. There is a scene. Actually, you might have. Have you gotten to the kid on the Night Kids? I have a hard time remembering a lot of characters' names, but I know.
I don't remember none of their names.
It's like the second in command on the Night Kids. Basically, the S13 guy or whatever lost to Takumi. His name is Takumi, right?
Maybe.
The main character.
Described by the car they drove.
Yeah. So anyway, there's
Is it the black one? Is it the yellow? I know it's not the yellow one.
it's the
it the
guy
red
in like the
one?
hatchback.
Okay, the red hatchback.
Yeah. So you've gotten to him.
I'm at the start. I'm at the start of that one.
Yeah.
At
So the
episode
first
12,
time.
or for context, I watched episode 1 through 12.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're gonna do.
Every
is watch 1 through 12.
we don't need to watch every single episode.
I as much as I like binging anime, not that much. I have other things going on in my life that I cannot. This is a fluke. I will not be doing this often.
Yeah. We really gotta pace
But-
it. But this time it was. Necessary because we gotta get it out.
Yeah.
Not really.
No. But
I say a lot. I'm noticing that. So the main character, right? The first time he wants to drive, we learn, is when his best friend, who is animated to have a Cheerio for a mouth, or more like a Spaghettio for a mouth, is what I'm gonna describe it as.
everyone in this show is kind of a human spaghetti. Let's be
I
real.
know it's a little strange, but he gets run off the road. Have you gotten to the scene where his best friend is like in the hospital because he was run off the road on his date?
No.
Okay, then this might.
Shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
That's the next episode, I believe.
That's the next episode.
So,
Sorry about that. Might be. Anyway, the first time he wants to drive is because one of his friends is hurt, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I got to the point where I ended, basically. Episode 12 ends with the main guy, basically, or it's the guy in the red hatchback is like, hey, I'm challenging the 86 to a race,
yeah.
and that's about where it ends. It's like next Saturday, this, that, or whatever.
Okay.
That's where it ends.
Yeah. So you're a couple episodes off. My bad on that one. I just need to stop saying that. Anyway. Yeah. So I love how this show just kind of takes cliffhangers as mandatory. It just really feels like it. Because every single race is like a 2-part race, which is done in the 3D format of 1998, which is just terrible. It's really hard to watch at first. It's really hard to watch at first because the 2D animation is actually really decent for the time.
Yeah,
I think, except for the mouths. The mouths are spaghettios.
Well, the character designs are weird. Like that's like one of my biggest complaints. It's like I have seen my fair share of like older anime. You know, I know there's some weird styles. Like I've seen City Hunter and I've seen Cowboy Bebop is older and all that stuff. Those are like foundational ones. But this one just looks weird.
But have you seen X-Arm? Peak 3D
I have
animation.
not seen X-Arm.
Don't watch X-Arm.
Oh, I'm aware.
I think I showed you an episode at one point.
I think we watched it together at one point. Like, this is terrible.
We didn't get through the whole episode. We got through about 2 minutes.
Anyway, though, it's like it's not the animation studio's fault. I don't think it's not like they did a bad job. I think it's just the artist, the manga author, probably had that specific style, and they're just trying to replicate that.
Yeah.
And it's not. There's moments where it's like, oh, this looks good. Other times I'm like, oh, no.
Right around episode
Bad.
16 or 17, there is just a swap where you're like, wait, suddenly this show doesn't look bad. It just looks fine.
Yeah, I'm not there yet.
Yeah,
so.
and that's the
At this
unfortunate
point,
thing.
And you can see there's a slow growth, too, of, like, the animation gets better and better. Because even, like, compared to the first car chase, Like
Yeah.
that one was
2
very
FPS.
iffy, and then you get like this. The second one's like it's a little better than even going into like them showing the red hatchback guy, the Night Kids guy. Him like even that those driving scenes with him in it thus far have looked good because they use like shaky cam and they try to take more creative angles with it instead of it just being car drive.
But I want to see
So,
car drive.
It's better. I mean,
Yeah.
I do too. That's another complaint I will say about the show. Now, this is in no way saying the show is bad. I actually have thoroughly enjoyed it. It's not been boring at all ever. The one thing I will say though is that for a driving show, can we find another place to drive?
You
I'm
haven't
tired of
gotten
driving
there.
down this mountain.
Alex, you haven't gotten there.
This one singular mountain.
Alex, you haven't gotten there. You need to get there.
Okay. If it's later on, that's fine.
It's not
But
too far away.
still.
It's really not too far away.
12 episodes, and we've not left the mountain.
Well, he's the fastest
one
8.6 on Akina.
I don't care.
It's the
It's
8.6 brothers, except one of them owns an 8.5.
Well, there's only one that owns an 8.6, and the other one owns a 8. One of the other two guys too that are like, I don't know what they own.
Well, the one guy owns an actual
I'm
good
not a
car,
car
which
guy.
is that I'm not a car guy either. I had to like ask around. I was watching this with my brother, and he was explaining to me car stuff because I'm incompetent with cars. So there's the S13, which is actually like a half decent car, and then
Yeah.
I mean they explain in the show that the 8.5 is garbage. Like it's just not a good car. Literally, I loved the scene where the boss opened up the hood and was just like, "Oh, it's just as I feared. You have an
terrible.
8.5." Yeah. The boss is one of my favorite characters in that show. He becomes like an actual dad figure, where the main character's dad is just an abusive monster with like zero regard for anything except his son's ability to drive and carry tofu.
I mean, this again, the point where I'm at, like, he's not been so bad. He's cold,
Yeah.
but
I wouldn't say abusive. I would say he's just very
I would
cold.
say he's very cold and very distant, and yeah, I think that's. I think that's like part of it. Versus, yeah, the boss kind of becomes more the figure of kind of, I guess, trying to teach him and stuff like that. It's not just driving. It's actually about teaching him as a person,
Yeah.
which is nice. I like the boss.
And he
I
is
think
the
he's
friend of all of those characters, and it's really funny. I wish I could spoil later
Yeah.
episodes, but I'm guessing you're actually going to continue, so I won't.
Yeah, no, I'm going to. I mean, I figured we'd come back and do it next week too.
Oh, yes! You can go to episode 28. Well, 24, but you'll
that-
want to go to
Does
28.
it end on 28? Because if it ends on 28, we can just go for 28.
I frankly don't know
I'll
where
double
it
check.
ends.
I'll double check.
Because the way it works is very much like classic anime, where it's not like, okay, 12 episodes or 14 episodes. It's, this
Yeah,
is an
no.
arc, this is an
It's
arc,
like,
this is an
oh yeah,
arc.
this is 80 episodes and this is 3.
Well, luckily it doesn't do that. Luckily it's like almost everything is around a 12
Looking at
episode
you,
arc,
One
but it
Piece.
might be... Well, everything is around actually usually at like a 4 to 6 episode arc, if you've noticed. Like the Takeshi...
26 episodes.
Like the Takeshi brothers are, they're like 4 to 6 episodes, I think.
Yeah.
Which, still,
Yeah.
they are my favorite villain in the show. I love the Takeshi brothers.
The older one's really interesting.
The older one is super cool and also a nerd and also has some problems. But the younger one is really cocky. I like him. My least favorite villain, in a amazing way, is the hatchback dude. Like, the moment he runs the friend off the road, I think it's Ikatani is his name, or yeah,
I don't know.
he
The weird one.
Yeah, I'm only now learning their names because luckily in the next 12 episodes they do a little bit more to like get you attached to the
Yeah.
characters and not just like this is
You gotta say
driving.
their names a lot more for me to grab onto their names.
Yeah.
That's a big problem in anime.
Oh my gosh, seriously. But yeah, my least favorite villain in the perfect way possible was the guy who's running everyone off the road. He is just like so aggro and cocky and terrible, and you're just like, I want you to die right now. I want you to run off the road.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's kind of the point. I think is he's just that. Yeah, it's just annoying. There's no honor with the race at all. He's just like, I'm gonna win by running off the
I'm gonna
road.
kill you and you're gonna duct tape your hand to me.
So I was doing research, by the way, on like the episode lengths because I didn't check any of this. I'm doing this on this because
On the go.
But yeah, 26 episodes for the first season, and then so we'll do that. We can do that next week, and then if we want to keep going, we can do
Cool.
The 13 episodes of stage 2.
There's only 13 in
or
stage
second
2.
Stage. Only 13 in stage 2, and then 2 movies are like long episodes. Really, they're like an hour apiece.
Okay.
That can be one, and then the 4th stage is 24.
I mean, by the time we get to the movies, I will most likely be visiting you. I'm visiting him in October, so.
Fair. I mean, I figured we'd stock up if we need to. Like, we could just binge
Yeah.
a little more and
Yeah, get to
do
the.
like 2 in 1 week.
Yeah, get to the movie.
And then
It's a very good show, though. Honestly, I have never had more nostalgia for a show that I had never seen before than this show. It just felt classic to me.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like old animation you just kind of come across on Cartoon Network when you're a kid.
And I appreciate that all of
yeah.
the emotion in the show honestly isn't like too emotionally investing. Like
It feels it feels very natural. It doesn't feel like, anime where it's over the top, it's crazy. It's just kind of I mean, even keel, other than the friend, he's kind of a nut, but
he is something else. He's a massive
every other character is kind of very relaxed for the most part.
Yeah.
Which is nice. The drama comes from the challenges rather than the characters themselves, which is just kind of. It's not always good, but in this case, it is nice.
Except even the challenges. The main character, he's just like driving on the road, like one hand on the wheel, one hand on his head, kind of chilling while drifting.
Well, see, that's the funny thing is, it's like, for me, it's like he's all the time like, I don't even like driving. It's so boring.
Why does
And then
anyone
eventually,
like
like, someone says, well, you're not good at driving. He's like, okay, fine, I'm gonna win.
I guess
And
I'm
then
gonna try.
it's just over.
Well, no, my favorite, and this is why I call this show so classic anime. You know why he decides to drive it first? Because he wants to take a girl to the beach on Sunday and can only use the car if he does.
Yeah.
He comes home and he's like, 50
yeah.
gallon, or $50 of gas, please. A full tank. I need a full tank, Dad.
Yep, just. I wonder how much how much full tank of gas would have been in 1998.
Yeah. For a little
I don't know.
8.6.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It'd be weird. Probably. I don't think it'd be worth that much, but it also depends on Japan too. Because I don't know how Japan's gas economy is, because that's not what we do here.
Yeah.
Um.
I also.
No, it's just. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's also funny that every single character comes along and challenges him and is like, he's in an 8.6, that couldn't possibly win. And then every time.
I know.
They're.
Every single one. This guy's an 8.6. 8.6s are dumb.
8.6s are so dumb. And then mid-race, after he passes them, they're like, that 8.6 must be a god.
That's kind of where that's kind of like, I'm starting to lull out of the show a little bit, because I loved watching the first several episodes, because the characters are interesting. I like how the protagonist is not like this, he's not like a Kirito, where he's just like, I know I'm so awesome, and everyone has to love me because I'm so awesome. It's kind of he's ambivalent about it.
Every time he races, he does it because he wants people to stop talking about how good he is at racing, and he wants to lose. There's literally been races where he's like, I just want to lose and get this over with.
But to me at least, it's like I like that. I don't know. I just don't care for the whole crazy, I'm so powerful anime trope. But it's also, in this case, it's more of I mean, he's just good at what he does, and that's just how it is. I mean, I think it's a little more entertaining, but that's the point where now I'm getting to the point where it's a little bit boring, because it's like, okay, we're still in the same location. It's another guy challenging him. It's going to be, is he gonna race? He's gonna be late, isn't he? Is he not gonna make it?
It's 10,
and then
oh my
he gets
gosh.
there late, and then it's gonna be, okay, we're gonna race. I'm gonna win, and then it'll be the race, and then at the last second you'll win, and then that's the end of the race.
Every single time. How does he know that X is there? Oh my gosh, he used the curb. Oh my gosh, he used the guardrail. Oh my gosh, he used this.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I can understand. It's a fun idea of like adapting it, but that's why you need more races at this point.
You're
Like, you
so
need
close. I'm trying
more
not to spoil it for
more
you.
places. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I appreciate it. I'll get there. We'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. And by that time, I'll be just as fresh on the on the next 12 as I am on this 12, which is not super fresh.
You can just not watch it.
Well, the problem is that even if I didn't watch it, it would still have been a week since I've watched it.
Yeah. What?
I'm on episode 26 right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Or, no, episode
I'm saying.
28. I have started stage 2. My bad.
I'd say just like hold off and then I'll catch up with you and then we can talk about it at the same time.
Maybe. I watched the show with my brother, so, maybe once he leaves.
Oh, okay. Possibly. How much longer does he have?
Friday.
Okay.
Yeah. But I will
Cool.
watch until then, and then I will hold off. But I just really love the show. I am a racing nut.
Yeah.
Alex knows this. This show scratches none of that itch, but I still love it for some reason. This show is very
Yeah.
non-technical. It's just very much like, I don't know. I enjoy it because it feels like a late night vibe. Like every single episode, 90% of the episode takes place at 10 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
and I just think that's
It's
really
nice.
funny.
I enjoy the show a lot. Like it's even for me. Like I have no interest in cars. I actually actively don't really like cars.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the craftsmanship of cars.
They're
I think it's
kinda
interesting
cool.
to hear stuff about cars, but I don't like driving cars that much. But yeah,
They
no,
look
it's
cool on
it's
mountain.
I mean, yeah, it's just car goes zoom.
Zoom.
Cool.
Yeah.
But no, it's very interesting to watch. But yeah, it's for me the technical speak is over my head for almost all of it because I'm like, yeah, I know of cars. I've done stuff with cars. Like I've helped fix cars before, and I've done all this stuff. It's not super difficult stuff, but it's all the basics. Like, I know how to change a tire. I know how to change transmission. No, I guess transmission fluid. All this like different like small like normal maintenance car stuff.
Yeah.
But like all the more in depth like, oh, this is this kind of engine.
Nope.
I don't
I'm
know.
out. I'm out.
That's about where my brain jumps out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's. I'm vaguely aware of a lot of it, but not aware of another lot of it.
I just enjoy
But that's fine.
cargo zoom. I also
Cargo zoom.
I don't know why the main character is such an enigma to me, which is why I think I enjoy this show so much. There's so many things about him that I'm just like, why are you this way?
Why are you the way you are?
Like, for example, how did he get this girlfriend that just like fell into his lap?
Well, like, so there's obviously some, at least for I don't know how far it is in, but like there's obviously some history between the two of them.
Yeah.
Something happened. They flash back to something for a brief second. So obviously something happened, but like.
Oh, you understood that was a flashback? I didn't realize until they referenced it as a flashback later.
I mean, why else would they show it though?
I thought it was a dream.
Ah.
I thought it was him
Oh.
dreaming about it, and I was like, oh, he's got feelings. And then I was like, oh, wait, this is a flashback. He had feelings. Or
Yeah,
human
so
decency.
Something obviously happened. I mean, he punched someone, obviously, but
Him having emotion.
I don't know how
What?
far. Well, its only emotions are bored and angry. That's his two emotions all the time.
And his angry isn't even really that angry.
It's more bored and competitive. Competitively bored. He
Bored
wants to
and
be competitive enough to then get him back to his boredom.
yeah. It's like how his best friend describes him as like having two modes. He's like, you're either this like weird, aloof weirdo, or you're in a race car.
Yeah. And there's nothing to say like the show's back. Again, we're enjoying the show. But it's just funny
very
because, like, the
anime.
character is weird.
Yeah, he's a really
very
well. He's weird in an interesting way. His friend is weird in a way that I'm like, I would never want to talk to
Yeah.
you a day in my life.
It's weird in a very typical anime high school boy way, where he's the pervy over the top best friend.
Yeah.
LOL.
I really enjoy the other two characters at the gas station. I believe it's
Yeah.
Ikutani and Kenji is the other one's name. I know it's Kenji. In one of the later episodes, his
Only
name
one-
is said
only-
like 4 or 5 times, so that one locked in.
only people that I know thus far are like the one guy that also races
Yeah.
at the gas station.
Yep. Ikutani, that's him. Or Itsuki?
Yeah.
No, Itsuki's the best friend. Anyway, I'm really bad at names. That's that tangent. Well, this show is bad at giving us
In
names.
2 days. I watched it in 2 days. I mean, it's partially the show, partially also it's just Japanese language.
Yeah.
It goes weird. It goes over our English brain heads. So it's just the way it is. Same way that if a Japanese person had English names, they wouldn't know what they're talking about unless it's like a really common name.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is just the way it is. I mean, that's why I reference objects and different things that happen. Cause like I will not remember these names.
The
That's
guy
in
in
every anime for the most part.
Yeah, you have main character. I do know the Takahashi brothers because they love saying their name any chance they get.
Yeah.
They're like, we are the Takahashi brothers. We are so cool and so sick, and we race. Did you know that we have cars and they go fast, and we're the ones that are going fast in them? Because we do, and that's cool, and we are. And
They're fast boys.
The fast men. Yeah, I'm excited for the rematch or whatever with the older brother, because he's kind of touted as like the final boss of the series, where it's like, oh, he lost to the second in command, and then everyone challenges him, and the whole time the brothers are just sitting there and they're like, you need to beat them so that we don't look like idiots.
How about you just come out here and beat him? Because obviously the younger brother can't, but the older brother probably could. At least that's kind of the idea thus far, is that he could.
They have so much sportsmanship though. Like the younger brother, even though he lost, is still like, oh man, like you're such a G. I think. Have you gotten to the part? You should have, yeah, where the younger brother like stops on the side of the road to like meet with the main character and is like, you have to do this race. You're too good at the craft, and and the main character's just like, I don't know, I think I race or something.
That's the second race.
Yeah, that's the second
with
one.
The guy in the black car.
Is he gonna show up? Oh my gosh, it's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, he's like, you have to beat him, because if you don't beat him, then the only person that can beat you is me. I mean,
yeah,
it's this whole thing, but it's I can respect it. Like, I think the characters are interesting, but I mean, overall, I like the show quite a bit. I think it's very interesting. But the one thing I will point out, I guess, is the big thing is the music. I love.
Oh my gosh, their soundtrack is incredible. It fits the show so well, even if they have wacky music videos at the end of every episode.
Yeah, that is a bit funky. The weird music videos after every single episode, or the weird music video at this point.
I enjoy the intro song, at least for OP1, which is I think only what you've seen, is the first.
Yeah.
Intro.
I think I'm about to hit the second one probably soon.
Yeah, the first one, I had locked in my brain the like timestamp of when they said funky beat, because it was always so funny to me. So every single time I would be watching it, I would just yell funky beat as soon as it hit.
There's some wacky English in that first song.
Oh, it's bad. It like that first song
very reminiscent of.
I think they Googled like emo playbook and just copied it and turned it into a song, because it doesn't make sense. It's just like, we are flying into this crimson night, and then it'll move to like some other topic. It'll be like, they'll be like, oh man, and I feel so much pain and I'm alive. And you're like, what does this have to do with racing? Yeah.
I know, it's over it's very over the top, but this sounds so good. I'm a huge fan of like that kind of Eurobeat sound. I think it's super fun.
It's done so well, and it fits the vibe.
That while playing. Yeah, 100%. I want to listen to it while I'm playing Mario Kart. I did the other day, actually.
Oh, that would be smart. Yeah. The soundtrack I think is one of the strongest parts of the show. The racing is good. It's just, I want to get to the later seasons with better animation. I'm holding out for it, because I know it'll get better, because the show has quality, and I know that it truly is probably just a product of its time. And so I'm waiting for like the 2000s. Era animation.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like It's very reminiscent. That's what's surprising to me, though. I guess it's maybe a budgetary thing, but every show and every '90s anime for the most part just looked kind of goofy. It wasn't until the 2000s that things started to really clean up.
Except for Cowboy Bebop, I will die on the hill that Cowboy
Even-
Bebop looks incredible to this day.
It does. Well, that's the funny thing is Cowboy Bebop's one of the few ones that like has that style of the old animation where everything's kind of a bit fuzzy, everything's kind of a bit, I don't know, a little bit weird, but it does so it adds to the style.
Yeah.
Almost. It adds to the like style of the show rather than just making it like, oh, this is a little weird. This doesn't look as good. It's like, oh wow, this is the style of Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
But no, it's like you have that, and that's interesting. But like, I'm excited for going to the 2000s because even it's crazy how much space there is, like how much growth in the anime industry between like the 1990s and the 2000s. Because in 1990s, you had a lot of really, I guess even in terms of shonen again, you have Cowboy Bebop and all that stuff. One Piece season 1 looks like One Piece, almost all these blue One Piece. It all looks really rough.
It just,
but then
yeah.
you can go to
That's a good
go
description.
to like 3 years later, and you had Full Metal Alchemist.
Wow.
And
That's crazy to
the
me.
first season, the original Full Metal Alchemist was in 2002, I think.
Because that show looks
And
incredible.
That looks insane. I mean, it was just a general. I think it's generally a cleaning up of the style. Which I mean, honestly, to some degree, I guess you could look back and think. Oh, I would be curious to see what people who have watched anime for a long time thought. If this is kind of ruining animation or anime is the cleaning up of the style.
Yeah.
Because it definitely is a lot more simple, very simplified stuff. Because even you can go farther into 2005 and you get Toradora.
Yep.
And that's a very clean show.
Oh my god.
So it's just, I don't know.
Alex, they made a live-action remake of Initial D.
Yeah, I saw that 2005. That honestly, if it's I'm thinking of like mid 2000s car movies, and that could actually be either really stupid or really fun.
I don't know, man. I don't know if that has any chance of being good.
I'd be down to check it. I mean, that cover looks really bad.
Really rough.
Really bad.
I'm trying to find
But
any reviews for this. I can't find anything. It's probably, yeah. But yeah,
it's on Netflix.
yeah, the animation looks pretty rough I think even comparatively to everything else of that time. It's pretty bad.
No, I agree.
Because stylistically, they didn't have what they needed to get it done. So the 3D starts out at like 3 FPS. It's not great. And then the 2D animation, I don't know what it was. Their character design is just not appealing at all to me. I think the main character is the only one. The main character and the
That's the
gas
problem,
station
right?
boss are the two people that I'm like, that's pretty decent.
You're a normal human being. Or even like even his friend at the gas station that works there with him. He looks relatively decent, but like yeah, everything else is just a little off.
Yeah.
Which I mean, again on the one hand, I can kind of commend shows because I think we have lost the really different animation styles that were around in the 90s and 2000s.
Oh, for sure.
Because even looking through my Crunchyroll real quick, on there I have Initial D, which just to me Initial D for 1990 was it 1999, 1998? I think it was 1998.
For Initial D, it's
when it
98.
started. It's 98. Yeah, for 1998, like the color is like really odd. It looks very worn out. I wonder if like I don't know what happened to the animation. Like maybe something happened because I know that it was properly capped or something like that. Where just when it was recorded digitally, if it lost some of its fidelity and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But even you can look at that, and then you've got stuff like One Piece, which is a very, very unique style. You got stuff like Code Geass, which is its very unique style. Full Metal Alchemist, its own unique style. There's a lot of different styles to look at versus now it's all kind of homogenized for the most part. I mean, heck, even Sailor Moon.
Yeah. It doesn't hold up compared to the competition animation wise, and even like writing wise, it's fine.
No.
He is the Shin of Wise Man Grandchild of racing. Like,
I wouldn't go that far because like it's not that goofy in the story.
no, it's not like, oh my god, he's so powerful. It's genuinely just like yo, this dude is like clearly just something else. Like he just has a natural talent, and people are confused by it. And it's never like blown out of proportion. It's always like, oh, he overtook it this like last second, or like he has this one trick up his sleeve. It's not like he steps on track, and even though he's in like a tin can on wheels and the other guy's in a jet, he passes him.
One guy's in like a Lamborghini, the other one's in a, like, he's just in a, I don't know, a Honda Accord.
I don't know, Honda Accords I think used to race back in the day.
Do Accords? I know Civics did. That's what the hatchback is, it's a Civic.
Yeah.
The Civics actually used to be cool.
I mean, the show's whole point is like you can race in anything as long as you're decent.
Yeah. If you're good enough, you can do it.
Yeah. Or you can just have an absolutely tricked out dad who can mess around with your suspension and make everything good for you.
Yeah, but that's why I think it's like at least somewhat justified. Because if we're talking about Wise Man's Grandchild, if you go to that comparison, it's like he's just born powerful. Like even if his like quote unquote grandfather's adopted grandfather was Merlin.
Yeah.
I mean, he shocked him because of how powerful he was. He was just powerful for the sake of being powerful. Versus what's his name from Initial D? It's much more of a slow. It's a talent that was fostered because his dad just was pushed him to drive since he was like 12.
Yeah.
And
it is Takumi, by the way.
Well, because he's driving a mountain. What?
It is Takumi, by the way.
Yeah, Takumi.
Takumi. I remember that girl calling that out 7 million times because that's all she ever does.
Okay.
She doesn't actually talk. His girlfriend, she just yells Takumi. Takumi.
Yeah. I mean, I can appreciate it for the show, but there's a lot of, I think, good shows. Or not good shows, a lot of good parts of the show.
Oh, yeah. It does a lot right. And the writing gets better over time. That's the thing about the show is it's a product of the 90s that evolves like other good products of the 90s.
Yeah. It feels like there's just a lot of depth to it. I think there's a lot of good meat to the story that's there. It's just a matter of, it's not the prettiest box.
No. It's sold in a cardboard box they found in the dumpster in the alley.
Yeah, it's not the prettiest show. If you're in it for the animation exclusively, you are not going to like it.
Yeah, just walk away. You can suffer through until like stage 2 or 3 and it gets better. Because I'm at the end of stage 1 it gets better. So
oh yeah, even halfway through stage 1 where I'm at, it looks better at that point than it does at the beginning. The first few episodes are pretty rough.
Yeah.
And all the characters look really ugly.
Yeah.
But it's like, even for me, like I'm a picky person when it comes to animation. Like the story there is good, so even if it's not the prettiest, it looks nice. Like I can't go back and watch Dragon Prince because I just can't. The animation just doesn't work with my brain.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't like it. But like this show, I'm like, okay, I'll forgive it because the story feels good, and even watching, I'm like, the racing stuff, I'm like, man, I want to be good at something.
I know. Even though the animation is bad, it still conveys the message that it needs to get across.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah.
Which is cargo fast.
It's basic. It's basic, but it's there. It's very, very solid storytelling. As much as I want them to maybe diversify a little bit. And hopefully and you said that they will, so.
Yeah.
Hopefully that'll be soon.
Oh man, I will just give you fair warning. This is the only spoiler I'll drop. There's a fan service episode beyond all fan service episodes at one point.
Yeah.
It's another level of like, I was watching with my brother / friend, like someone I'm very close to, and I was embarrassed to be watching it with him. I was like, this is a bit much.
Yeah, it's again a 90s anime.
Yeah, we knew that there would be fan service as soon as we met his best friend.
They were much more lax on that then.
Oh yeah, well, not really. We just hide it better now. We just put it on another site.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's. Yeah, I mean, they I don't know. It's weird. Like, it was just much more. I guess it's not too dissimilar to like how censorship works in the U.S. too. Of like, We had shows that even 10 years ago, they made stuff like jokes about stuff that's like, okay, yeah, we can't show that anymore now.
Yeah.
But
not in anime.
You know, it's
we let it be standing on its own from the time of release.
Anime is so weird. Like the fact that they market that kind of stuff is like for 12-year-olds. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
No. Maybe don't.
This show is actually
like,
rated
that's why,
TV-13.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really? I mean, I guess that's the funny thing. It's not like there's not much language at all. There's some, but like not a whole lot of language, not a whole lot of super mature themes. It's kind of surprising. But that's why, like, for me, if I always recommend someone, like, if someone has a kid, like, they want to say, oh, this, you know, my kid wants to watch anime, what should they watch? And I'll be like, okay, My Hero.
Yeah.
Solid. Very childish in a way, but it's still good. Like, at least season 1 through 3-ish, 4 is good.
A little
Everything
dark, but
sucks.
you know.
I'm okay with showing kids scary things.
Yeah.
Because kids get scared, and that's a growing moment.
Yeah.
Kids see naked woman, and it's not beneficial to them almost at all.
This show doesn't have naked women, but it does have a man who is just always thinking about it.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, that's just how it is. I mean, I'm not inherently, I mean, I am against fan service for the most part. If it's somewhat beneficial, or at least in small doses, it's fine. But
beach episodes, we could burn them.
Not.
Let's burn all beach episodes.
Every beach episode, every hot springs episode.
Except for this one, like, Takumi deserved it.
I'll give it points. Like, there are some shows that do hot springs episodes very well.
Some of them are very funny.
Uzaki-chan does very good with that.
Yeah.
Whereas a hot springs episode, but it's like all of her family goes with them.
That's funny. Add the tension, make it something funny.
Really yeah, there's some shows that do really well with it. Most don't. that's just the way it is.
The worst of them being Shield Hero.
I didn't watch enough Shield Hero to get to that point.
Oh, it was bad. That was a bad Hot Springs episode because, you know, he has like a young child and a teenager with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all.
He has no, they're not. They're not a young child. It's a cat girl who grows up faster than regular people.
Oh my gosh!
And a young
so
girl
right.
who's like 1,000 years old.
I forgot that as long as it's a cat girl, you can do anything.
It's a toddler who's like 1,000, and then a cat girl who's obviously grown up faster than regular people. So
no, that makes sense. I agree with that. Yeah.
No, it's weird stuff. Like, that's why I'm very almost vehemently against isekai.
They just always do that.
Aren't a vessel for some lolly stuff.
Yeah.
There are some. I'm not saying all, but there are most of them that I've watched have that in there somewhere.
We just need to cool it. We
just go.
Yeah. We just need to cool the genre
really
down.
Not hard.
Stop producing as many of them and let the good ones make it through, and stop making the other ones.
I'm perfectly fine with isekai if it's good.
Literally.
But
like Kaguya-sama, or not Kaguya-sama. What is it? I'm trying to remember. I've watched it. Oh gosh, this is gonna kill me if I don't find it. I need to find it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna find it.
You could argue that Shield Hero is not Shield Hero, sorry. Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone is isekai to some degree.
Sort.
It's a guy who falls asleep for years and ends up in another world, basically.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm gonna find this. Not Fate. Who cares about Fate? Actually, I need to watch Fate. Why could... This is gonna kill me. No. I'm gonna die. This is gonna... Let's see... Yeah, anyway, I'll find it, but we can keep talking while I find it, because this is deadly. But yeah, I think the isekai genre needs to cool it down. I don't know why it's just the most popular one right now. It's just so easy to make an isekai for whatever reason.
I mean, it's just isekais are like, in all honesty, one of the easiest genres to write because you don't have to worry about world design. You can if you want to, not to say that they don't,
You can
but
make
it's
up
really easy. Like,
anything,
oh,
yeah.
I'm a salary man. You've got your hook immediately, like easy hook. It's just, oh, salary man, truck, smack. Hey, look, new life.
Yup.
Start in the fantasy world. Like that's the whole hook.
And then
That's
you
the
take
starting of it.
one
It's
thing
so
about the
easy to
world
establish that.
and you tweak it. You're just like, alright, salaryman dead,
Yeah.
cool, in another world. Oh, but this time they're all cats. Boom.
Yeah, but
Isekai.
this time he's a slime.
this,
This time he is only a shield.
this time he's super
Yeah, no,
sad inside and doesn't like it.
This time he's a wise man's grandchild.
Nah, don't knock that one. That one's the best isekai of all time. Also, I found it. It's Konosuba.
Oh, Konosuba. Yeah.
Yeah. That one is genuinely really well done. It does have hecka fan service, but it's really well done.
Oh yeah, 100%. But yeah, no, it's just so much fan service in all the shows. But I understand, like that's in Japan, like that's how they get kids to watch it basically.
Yeah.
Get like teenagers to watch it. That's why it's shown it essentially. But yeah, no, it's just the way it is. I mean, I don't like it, but
Yeah.
we survived. I thought about looking at reviews for the show, but then I realized, oh, Initial D is all positive reviews.
There's some other non-positive ones. You have to go to my anime list. I found some
That's true,
mixed
I
feelings
totally
ones. Yeah, because I can't find the Rotten Tomatoes ones at all. I did find I found a not recommended on my anime list that's kind of funny. It's actually rated as funny. And he said, to be as brief as possible, if you like other competitive / battle anime because of tension of who's going to win, strategy or technique, visuals, visual or audio spectacle, a passionate, interesting main character or team, there's nothing for you here. Turn back while you can. I agree with the first one. If you're wondering who's gonna win, you're watching the wrong anime.
Yeah, you're like, you want any kind of suspense of, man, who's gonna win this one? Sorry.
Every time I
Oh,
think
guess
there's a
it's
reason.
seinen, technically.
Oh, what? Yeah, seinen.
It's a seinen.
There's another mixed feelings review. Someone says, vroom, vroom, vroom. It's anime's most popular racing series, Initial D. Initial D stars Takumi Fujiwara, a constantly spaced out and quiet gas station worker with no hobbies or interests in life. Let's see. What is he? Why can I not find the full review? Are you gonna let me? Yeah, read more. Whoa, this is like a page and a half. I'm not reviewing that. He gave it a 6, but I'm not reading a page and a half. That's fun for nobody.
No.
Even
really.
okay, this person says even with said soundtrack though, it isn't enough to have me wanting to see more of Initial D. The title's premise appeals to a rather niche audience and doesn't have much else that sticks out beyond its cliched characters and subpar visual presentation. Your mileage will vary with this one. I disagree with that take. I think it does a really, really good job of pulling the non-niche audience in. I think it's actually probably not enough for some niche audiences because they're gonna get angry. Well, I have heard that the car representations are pretty spot on.
Yeah, but I've heard that they're like, yeah, very, very well done in terms of like how the cars are shown in the show and all that stuff. But I can agree that like if you really wanted to go, if you want like a niche show,
this is not it.
Technically, it's not that niche. It's if someone like me, who I have a vague knowledge of cars, can be perfectly fine watching it and know what's going on, then it's not a super niche show.
Yeah, then I think it's fine.
But yeah, no, it's just to me that sounds like them like I didn't like the show, so here's a reason. No, that's not really a reason. I don't like the show, and that's fine.
Holy cow! My anime list has 1 not recommended.
Yeah. Someone likes ruining people's fun.
Yeah, seriously, hold on. I need to find other reviews. Give me the bad ones. Oh, Google reviews. This is where I go for everything good. Just kidding, Google reviews. Or IMDb? Yeah. Filter by 1-star reviews. Oh. There's no 1-star. Nope, no 2-star. Okay. No 3-star. Alright. No 4-star. We have a problem. It's all fine. Everyone likes this show, apparently. Take me.
It's. I guess that's good. I mean,
IMDb maybe has bad
I don't.
ratings. That's the thing. This one person on my anime list is getting a hotter and hotter take by the minute. Let's see.
While you look around though, I was looking into because I like to do this. I like to see what studio makes it because it's just fun to see the studio. And yeah, it was made by. Oh shoot, they did that too. I didn't know they did that. It was made by Studio Gallop and Studio Comet.
Yeah.
Or Gallop and Studio Comet, not like Studio Gallop. Gallop's one that did Yu-Gi-Oh.
That makes sense.
And you can see that in the way it's done. Like, it feels kind of Yu-Gi-Oh-esque in terms of... It's very reminiscent of old anime.
Yeah.
And they've been around since... Gallop's been around for ages.
Wow, Comet's
Yeah,
produced.
1978. And... I mean, still going.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they did Yu-Gi-Oh! They also did Ice Shield 21.
Are they still
football
responsible
anime.
for current Yu-Gi-Oh?
I thought they ended.
Oh, did they?
Yu-Gi-Oh!
I was not a Yu-Gi-Oh watcher.
But no, not at the time. But no, they did it up until when's this one? This one was in 2017.
Wow.
So yeah, they did it up until recently, and then they also did the recent Digimon in spring of 2020.
Oh,
But-
interesting.
And then Comet hasn't done a whole lot that's huge.
They haven't, and they were only responsible for the first stage of Initial D.
Yeah, they're probably an assistant studio.
I'm actually
And
curious
there's
now.
nothing on here that's like not a huge. I mean, they've got a good repertoire.
Is
But
it different in the second stage?
nothing
Let's
that's
see.
like instantly, other than the Dragon Quest anime.
Oh, they just swapped studios entirely for stage 2. Pastel is the studio
Did
for
they?
stage 2, yeah. They were responsible for, it looks like, everything else. And they have not done a lot. Wow, Initial D out here ruining studios' legacies.
Oh, yeah, I guess. Yeah, there's a new studio entirely, Pastel in season 2,
Let's check fourth
which has done
stage.
almost nothing, and they probably don't exist anymore, if I had to guess.
Fourth stage was ACGT. What else have they
And
done?
they're just burning through studios.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, it is a very long show. Like, it ran for a lot of years, so that makes sense.
I mean, there's so much time in between all of them.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah. And they also
Yeah.
didn't do much. It looks like their best show was an 8.2.
Studio Dean has a pretty good repertoire.
Huh.
But man, do they do BL. Holy crap.
Yeah, it looks like
100% a lot of BL in there.
Initial D. Yeah. So they're. Yeah, the first season has pretty good ratings. I mean, it's an 8.3. And, like, has kind of some nobody studios, I'm gonna be honest. It looks like they could never pick up someone good.
I mean,
Imagine if,
so-
like, Mappa was animating this, or, like, some, like, top-tier animation studio.
I have my issues with Mappa.
I know you do.
I don't want Mappa to touch anything.
I think you'll enjoy this review, by the way. Someone rated it a 2 out of 10 on IMDb with the headline Mario Kart the movie. This show is poorly animated, and most
Yeah,
of its budget
yeah.
looks like it was spent on the CG. I've seen better animation in hentai that was released earlier than this show. I only enjoy the show for the memes and the music from Eurobeat. The only two things that make the show worth watching. Making fun of this show is fun because of all the memes that have originated from the show. Basically, the entire show is shifting gears and drifting. The only good quotable line has to be, the setup point is in the next 5 consecutive hairpin turns. I've personally made poorly created fan art to represent the poor quality in this anime. Would recommend to others. I have many comments about this man's review. First of all, I've seen better animation in hentai that was released earlier in the show. How long have you been watching it, man? Like, quit.
Sounds like you need to stop.
Sounds like you've got an addiction. The second thing, sounds like you're having a good time watching the show.
Yeah. Even if it's bad, like I mean, I could say that like Wise Man's Grandchild is just a trash show. Doesn't mean I didn't enjoy watching it. I mean, I still give it a 4 because I mean, animation's great, story sucked. But like even as like a whole, it's not like the show is not bad. I don't think you can like say it's bad. It's a little repetitive for sure, but it's not bad.
Well, and it's done so much, I think, for the genre, carrying it when it has honestly kind of lacked a lot of luster. So you can't, like, Wise Man's has done nothing new. It's done nothing for the isekai genre except solely its name.
It has no cultural impact at all.
This show, even if niche cultural impact, has kind of defined this generation of this kind of anime. Specifically this kind of anime, not anime in general. So I don't think you can right conscience rate it a 2 out of 10. I think the lowest that it's possible to give this anime is a 5 out of 10.
I could see maybe a 4 if you really disdain the animation. Like, you just don't like it.
But again, you can just say it's 98.
But
like, this person rated this in 2016. Buddy, we had better animation by then.
So for me, if I were to give it a rating, right? Overall.
Yeah.
If I were to give my rating for the show, it would be probably, at least for this
it's tough.
It will change, since technically stage 1 is all, I'm not finished with it, so it will change and shift. But honestly, probably a 7.
Okay, that's fair.
Because it's like, it does get docked points for animation, because it's not stuck. There were better things at the time it was made.
Oh, for sure.
But, that said, I think that story-wise, it's fine. It's not amazing, but it's interesting enough for me to continue watching it. So something's there that makes me interested, and I am enjoying the show. So I mean, it's not anything fantastic. It's not life-changing, but it's like, it's a good show.
The music is some funky beat.
100%. Some funky beat right there.
I think.
Man, that music's so good. I found a playlist on Spotify. Sorry.
You gotta send it to me.
I found a playlist on Spotify. I will.
The music is.
I think it's supposed to like everything from the show.
This music is honestly some of the best anime soundtrack I've heard in a very, very long time, and it's what makes the show. I think it's what wraps it in a neat little bow. For me.
Yeah, I agree.
I would probably give this show. Oh man, it's tough. It's tough because I can't really just rate it on my personal enjoyment.
Yeah.
I think an 8 out of 10.
8? Okay.
And I would put it at a 7 if there was any other show like it that stood up to the task of defeating it. The problem is that if you go to find a show like this, you're not going to find one.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, for me, it's like, that's like the hard part. Is like, for personal enjoyment, you can't make a 1 out of 10 scale. Because personal enjoyment is either you enjoyed it or you didn't. Mm-hmm. Or like, it's like, to me, it's like a 4-point scale of, or I guess maybe 5. We'll go 5-point scale of, it was okay. And then you got, I liked it, I really liked it, and then you have, I didn't like it, ugh, that was awful.
Yeah.
A 5-point scale. So that's kind of where I sit with like the 7. It's like, I thought it was good. I liked it. It wasn't like amazing, but a 7's like, oh, it's an I liked it.
Yeah, that's fair. I would say I loved it, but I recognize its flaws. And that's the problem, is that those scales don't coincide, because I think you are more likely to rate something lower if you loved it because you kept watching. Like, you liked it enough to keep watching despite its flaws. It's not necessarily entirely correlated. Like, there's animes that I've dropped that I know are objectively amazing animes. Like Violet Evergarden, I've never finished, and I've heard that is like peak. But I got like an episode in, and I was like, this just didn't keep my attention.
Even like I watched 2 episodes of Reincarnated as a Slime and bailed. Because it was just, okay, is the main character going to be a slime the whole time? Yeah or no? Technically not. But that's I'm not gonna say that's technically.
That's actually kind of a spoiler.
But even so, huh?
I said that's actually kind of a spoiler.
But yeah. But I'm not gonna say any more than that. But like, yeah, it's like, is this gonna change at all from what it is? No. Okay. It just doesn't interest me. I don't care about a weird kind of high-pitched voiced slime thing running around.
Yeah.
Doesn't hold my interest, so I bail. I mean, it's not no shame to the people who like the show. Like, it's a fine enough show. It was, funny and all that, but to me, the joke gets old quick. If it was like the first 2 episodes, the main character was a slime, and then it turns into a human or whatever, like, fine. But the fact that I liked the main character as a human in the first, like, 10 minutes of the episode more than I like them as a slime, it's kind of a problem.
That's funny.
So, yeah, it just doesn't... you gotta separate, like, whatever your personal interests, like, your personal opinions of it, you have to kind of find the line between objectivity and subjectivity. You can't always have a completely objective or a completely subjective point.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
why I try to be fair. And, like, 7 is, like, there's objective flaws. It's not perfect, but I'm still watching it and still enjoying it. So
Yeah.
we're going to carry on.
And I liked the point that you made where you were like, you were watching Reincarnated as a Slime, and you thought to yourself, like, well, is this going to keep being what it is? And to me, I think the very interesting thing about Initial D that keeps me coming back is you feel like there's always another level, and it's not like Overlord or like all these other trashy isekais or like Wise Man's Grandchild, where that like the next level feels like it's just gonna be like absurdity. You're just like, oh, there's always a better driver out there, or surely there has to be a car that's fast enough that the skill difference doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so you always come back because you're like, there's always another challenge. Like, oh, what if he goes to another course that he hasn't been racing for 6 years?
But what if he loses?
Literally, like, there's always the questions.
What if he loses?
Because he's not indestructible. He's just really good. And that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah, well, as much as you can make fun of the point where he doesn't lose, like, people have, like, reading the reviews, it's people like, he can't lose. It's... At some point, it's like, okay, well, do I know that, though? Like, do I know that he's not going to lose this time? Maybe he loses one and no one's saying it. There's always that kind of anticipation of, well, what if he does lose?
Literally. And without spoiling anything. Like, for example, I'll tell you my thought process, the episode that you're at, right? I will literally extract all of the information of the episodes that come after and not include it. My thought process in that episode is I was like, oh, here's a dude who literally just wants to run people off the road. Like, is he gonna suicide run the main character? Like, is this it? And that was my thought process in that episode. And this show constantly brings that mindset in, where, I mean, if you get stressed enough, you can kind of just in the back of your head be like, all right, he's gonna win. How?
Yeah.
But like, it's never out of the question.
If you don't allow yourself, if you don't allow yourself to, like, enjoy it somewhat, it's like, okay, I mean, he's gonna win. He's gonna win this one. But if you, like, really want to be into it, you'll be like, okay, well, what if he doesn't, though?
Yeah.
What if he doesn't win? What if he loses this one?
Exactly.
So you gotta kind of make it fun for yourself a little bit, but nonetheless, you're still enjoying the show for the most part. Like, it's still a fun enough show, I think.
Yeah. So I think that is kind of my summary of, like, what keeps me coming back. Because, I don't know, it's a racing show. It does the same thing. It's just going to keep doing what it's doing. But it has a way to elevate itself and push it and have tons of narratives. And the characters are fundamentally interesting. Like, yeah, the writing's a little bit bland and goofy and, like, very old anime where it's like, all right, here's a dude and he sees woman and just starts going awooga. Like, yeah, it's anime, it's gonna do that, especially then.
Yeah.
But all that to say that, like, the characters through those flaws are still interesting enough. Like, Takumi is a very interesting character. You're just like, why are you like this?
He's a mystery.
Literally, why are you like this? The guy in the gas station, when his car breaks down, you kind of get that first little hook where you're like, oh, like, this guy's interesting. And you kind of just pick up subtleties. It feels like one of those shows where it builds over time. It's almost like The Office. It's like, if you watch it at first, you're going to be like, why would I give any care or attention to, like, all of these individual characters? Why would I get attached to, like, a paper salesman or whatever?
Why would I ever like Dwight?
Literally, why would I? Like, that is such a good example. But this show, because it's approached from a very epic, like, long story format, like, it's been going for a while, they know they have the beans in the tank to, like, slow burn characters on you, which is what I really like. And we talked about it with One Piece last episode, that, like, that is fundamentally what kills a show, is when they know they have no beans and they act like they have no beans in the tank to keep that show running. When they're like, we have
Or they like
one
try
season.
to put all of them in the first few episodes.
Yeah, we're like, we have one episode. We've got one shot. You can't do it like that. One, it reduces all of your desire for people to see more episodes. And two, like, what, do you really not believe in yourself? Do you really believe that you're gonna do a garbage enough job that the studio is gonna be like, yeah, we don't want it back?
Yeah, that's always the hardest part, right? Is like managing the expectation of, I don't know, like managing your expectations. Like, I don't personally like want to write something that'll get canceled halfway through it.
Yeah.
So you intentionally write it shorter, and then you're like, well, what if, what if I want to make a longer character arc? So it's kind of a matter of just having faith, of like, okay, this will get picked up. If it doesn't get picked up by this, I'll find someone else to do it for me.
Exactly. Just pull a Futurama. Go to like 8 studios.
Exactly. Yeah. Or Avatar, kind of.
Sort of. Nah, Avatar's not a good example. They've been tossed around like mad in the last 10 years. It's stupid.
Well, didn't they have like a? They basically Korra got canceled, and then didn't they have like another show they wanted to do too? I thought they were going to do like another animated spin-off series.
So Korra, oh, are you talking about the movie or the show?
It's like another show. I thought like
another show in
show.
Korra. I don't.
The animated show.
The original.
Not about Korra. I'm saying like the show, like Korra got canceled, and then I thought they were like wanting to make another spin-off show off of Avatar.
Oh, I mean, there's Avatar Studios, but Avatar Studios is still fundamentally made up of the original creators. They just decided to go independent so that they didn't have to like sign a Netflix deal to keep going.
Yeah. But anyway, the whole point of it is just be like, yeah, it's like you gotta have some faith on like it's gonna make it. You'll figure it out. I mean, heck, even Star Wars.
Oh my gosh!
Because
seriously.
After Episode 4, it's like George Lucas basically negotiated the rights to have Episode 5 be made independently.
Yeah.
And then he made 5 and 6 independently with the money he made from the 4th one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why you gotta be smart with your negotiations. Don't give anyone anything.
Yeah. Well, and have faith in your creative ability to keep your vision going.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Initial D did really well, is they knew that, we're gonna make some, well, not only that, they decided, you know what, we're gonna have longer things going and we're gonna build character interest and whatnot. But we're also gonna make an interesting product in the meantime. Like, yeah, cargo fast, and that's why a lot of people are gonna watch it, but over time they're gonna like the characters.
Yeah. No, there's definitely, it's like, I guess on the one side, it's like, there's difficulty of, again, if it's good, it'll last, but if it's like, it's like, if your show failed, also you should take into account, like, hey, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I made something bad.
Yeah, maybe go back to the drawing board.
I believe that's kind of what I think, again, going back to Avatar, I think that's kind of what happened to Korra, is, as much as the Avatar's original vision was good, Korra got canceled kind of because the show was declining. It just wasn't as good as the original series.
It didn't get canceled. So
they tried to kick it off in season 3.
Yeah.
That's why Korra season 4 was so short.
That's why it was so short, but also Korra was a mess on the administrative level, in my opinion, more than the creative level. Because the way that it worked is that they were hired on as a one-off series and then was basically yelled at by Nickelodeon to make more seasons. So then they made more seasons and they sketched out more arcs, and then Nickelodeon decided, what if we don't want the last one? And that kind of like ruined everything. So Korra was just a mess creatively. They just didn't have the means to actually stick to a vision and follow through on it. And that's why networks are dying and deserve to die and are just the bane of every existence. Because no one should have that amount of control.
Fully.
Well, I don't think that networks should have the amount of control they have. I think what should be done is you should sell packages, and it should then be the obligation of the network to upkeep the package that has been sold. So for example, if I was the Korra creators, I'd be like, here's 4 seasons. Do you want 4 seasons? If they say yes, I get to show all 4 of those seasons. But in reality, in Korra,
I agree.
it genuinely can just be like, well, actually, you know, your last season was on a decline, so I don't want the fourth one.
Yeah, well, but I guess it's kind of how business should work, though. I mean, I agree that you should buy it as a package deal. But for example, if you buy a show thinking it'll be good, if you were a network executive, if you buy a show that you think was good, you pay for the show, you pay for 4 seasons.
Yeah.
You say, okay, now season 2, everyone hates the show. Like, are you gonna continue to pay? Obviously, contract obligations aside, but like, are you gonna keep paying the person for a bad product that you know is not gonna sell, or are you gonna drop it and find someone else to make a better deal?
Yeah.
Like, it's just how business works. It's unfortunate, and I feel bad for people who get shafted by it, but I also it's in its own way natural selection of you got to make sure it's good.
Yeah. Luckily, no one hated Korra. It was just bad viewership. Which in that case, I think you should let it ride. In the event that it was sold as a package deal, the problem with Korra is that it wasn't. It was kind of just like an as-we-go kind of thing.
Season to season.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, which is never.
I think in the event of viewership.
Avatar.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Fine, I will. With Avatar, it was basically sold as a package deal.
Yeah, and that worked out really well for them because they knew exactly what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
I still liked another season. I think it could have used one.
I don't. I think it was fine the way it was. 3 seasons is the perfect length for almost any show.
Perfect length. I would have maybe added a couple of extra episodes per season.
I would say that it was good the way it was. I would say personally, if I were to go with, like, if I were to add anything to it, would be do that and then a movie.
Yeah.
And then if you really wanted more show, go back and make a show about Avatar Roku, Avatar Kyoshi, kind of like what they're doing with the extended lore stuff.
Yeah.
And even Korra is fine, but like
decent. But I was never a fan of the modern take.
Leave the core story.
Yeah. Huh? I was never a fan of the modern take of Korra. I don't know. It's just like the vibe of the world of Avatar to me was never let's shove technology in this.
Well, that's one thing I mentioned. Like that was the most jarring thing. That's a different
whole nother rant here.
At this point.
Yeah.
But like that's what I said. Like we've talked about this in the past. Why I don't like Korra that much, and not to say it's bad necessarily, but it's just to me it kind of ruins what Avatar had, and that's because almost exclusively because of the world.
Yeah.
Like spoilers if you haven't seen Korra. It's not like a huge spoiler. It's just the setting, so whatever. But it's the world's set in basically this kind of
steampunk-esque
fantasy version of 1930s.
Yeah.
And that was just a bizarre choice to me because I've heard so many responses to this of like, well, that's how time works. You know, obviously, if one took, like, for example, if you want to go with the way the time works, it was like the first series took place in the late 1800s, you know, with boats, and they have all this like steam power stuff kind of in the works. But then you go forward, like, what is it? I think it's like what, 50 years, 60 years, something like that.
If that, yeah.
I think it's like 60 or something like that years, and then that's placed in the 1930s, and so it's like I can get that to some degree, and it's to make the world feel like it's a living world, but also people don't want a new aesthetic.
Yeah.
People want the same aesthetic. I'm not watching Star Wars to see Star Wars Advance. That's what makes Star Wars so good is that it's the same. I can go back and play. I can go back and, or even close to this, you go to the prequels versus the original trilogy. It feels the same. It's just one feels a little more clean, a little more like this kind of royal feeling, and the other one feels like a kind of rebellion under the counter kind of feeling of the original trilogy. And then you can go back to the Old Republic era, and it still feels like Star Wars because it still is Star Wars. It's just the technology looks more kind of clunky and doofy, but it's still Star Wars. It feels interesting to just keep the same aesthetic, but different stories in there.
Yeah.
And Avatar, they did that, and it was so jarring that it took me out immediately. I considered stopping. I considered like not watching season 1 at all.
Luckily, it did
I watched
get better.
The first 3 episodes, and they did it. I'm like, it does. The story is good enough to carry it, especially in season 1.
It's just not.
Like, season 1 story is so good.
Yeah, and I would argue again. I'll die on the hill that Beginnings Part 1 and 2 is the best episode in either Avatar or Korra.
Yeah, well, fundamentally disagree, but
You
that's
know, that's just me though.
a different topic entirely.
All of this is a different topic entirely.
True.
Yeah.
But like the story, and especially season 1 and 3 are like really good. I still think season 2 is a dud.
Yeah.
I think season 4 is a good idea that was just not executed well.
Yep. Season 1 was
so
pretty
it's just
decent.
like-
I liked season 1 personally.
Season Amon was so good.
He was
and
such
then
a good
season
villain,
3
and
was
he
really good
should have
with,
had another season. Zahir.
Yeah, well,
Zahir was the
but the ending
coolest
is so-
villain.
Zahir is really interesting. I think Zahir is a really cool villain idea.
They took notes
but
with
yeah, no,
Avatar's
it's-
villains and made some pretty cool ones.
Yeah, they're really good. But that's kind of Korra's biggest downfall. Is it's so disconnected versus Avatar, which is this one continuous 3-season story.
And it's episodic.
it's whole
Korra
epic,
didn't feel
basically.
episodic.
Yeah, it felt very continuous. Like you had to watch all of it for the specific season story instead of watching the. Korra. That's why Korra's just kind of a downgrade. But
Yeah.
doesn't make it bad. There's still a lot of good stuff about Korra.
People can yell.
But it just wasn't
Take it.
as good.
Yep.
It just was not as good.
Yeah.
But that was a weird segue onto a different rant entirely. But
Yeah, because Initial D
yeah, it
doesn't
was.
suffer from that
Right
problem.
here first.
98% of the anime takes place at 10
No.
o'clock at night. On the same mountain, actually.
On the same road.
So, it really doesn't change at all.
Aesthetic doesn't change. You're there to watch Guy drive down mountain. You get Guy drive down mountain.
Same car, same guy, same mountain, same time.
Tell you what, I'd take an 86.
I'll buy an 86. They actually go for an absurd amount of money. They're so expensive now.
Yeah, because they're very common street racing cars still.
Yeah. It's almost like
I do know
they're
that.
good.
Same with like same with like well that's kind of the big thing is honestly a lot of people buy these old cars for street racing because street racing is still a thing in Japan.
Yeah.
People buy these old cars and they'll just because they're easier to mod, they're easier to like fix stuff on, they're easier in every respect.
Yeah.
Versus nowadays cars are so tricked out with all these extra gadgets and all that stuff that if you have to fix it, the analog part of it was made it easy to fix and tweak and mod to your own whim. Versus now there's nothing you can really do. It's kind of a package deal. It's like buying a console instead of buying a PC. You have the console, which you know will work. It does the job. You can play games. Or you can buy the PC, which you can make work. You can make it run better. But you have no assurance that you can always make it work.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that trade-off. But like, yeah, that's why I was curious, like Honda Civic hatchbacks, because they don't make them anymore, I don't believe. And I was just curious. Like, I really like Honda Civic hatchbacks. They look really nice.
Look up the price.
Mostly because again they're used for Japanese straight racing, and they look really cool. But it's they're expensive and hard to find because the old ones from the 90s and 2000s are like 30,000
Yeah.
easily.
Let's see, a 1998 Honda Civic
go ahead.
DX hatchback. I mean, turn off your ad blocker. No thanks, I'll go somewhere else. Yeah, I mean, they don't look too expensive. I see one for 11,000.
But the question is how good.
I mean,
is
it's
it? Like,
old.
what are you looking at?
Kelly Blue Book.
Well,
Carfax.
I mean, old or
Yeah.
not, yeah, Carfax. That's what I'm
Yeah,
looking at right now.
7,000.
Because even so, you can get a 1998 Honda Civic LX, which is not a hatchback, so that doesn't matter. That's not a hatchback. That's not a hatchback. There's no hatchback. Where else?
1998 price and specs cars guide. Yeah, they're all really expensive though, because like 86s go for I think like 30 grand sometimes used. Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess they're all used.
yeah. They're just moddable though. That's the big thing is you can tweak them a lot, and they're easy to repair. And if they're putting brakes, they're not cheaper per se because they're older. So it's not like they're
Yeah.
cheap, but they're, I don't know, it's just easier to fix them, and you can get different parts and mess with stuff versus now you need so many proprietary pieces. So I mean, that's what I've got a Traverse, and even changing the headlights on that thing's a pain. The battery's in the back seat. they're just, yeah, they try to cram as much space in such a small frame that it's so difficult to do anything with it. But that's how cars are now. Cars are boring now. Cars in like the
In the 90s
I still have the
better.
opinion that 1980s killed cars.
Yeah.
Like it was like, go back into like the 50s and the 60s, cars were so freaking cool. And then you go into like the 70s and like they're starting to kind of go a little more boring, but they're still interesting. 80s is just like all boring. 90s and 2000s started to kind of come back up, where it's like, okay, there's a little more interesting. People are playing around with the design. Like one of my favorites is a mini. It's a Mini Cooper, I think. It's a Roadster. That's what it is. Yeah, Mini Cooper Roadster. And it's such an interesting car. Like, I don't know. It's super interesting.
Interesting. I know nothing about cars or car
Yeah.
models, so this is all over my head.
I know bits. Like I know bits and pieces, but it's like, yeah, it just from the artistry of it itself. It's just they got interesting, or like really interesting, and then they kind of got boring, and then they got a little more interesting, and then now we're back. Now we're in the 2010s, and everything's boring again. So
Yeah.
everything's
Like
the
literally,
same.
I was watching with my brother, and he'd be like, "Is that this?" And I'd be like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
That's a car. He's driving a car right now.
That thing has 4 wheels. What?
4 wheels and a steering wheel, cup holders. Like that's what he says in the show. It's only got 4 wheels and a cup holder.
He's got a cup holder.
My car's only a couple.
Yeah,
I got 2.
I've got some. Yeah,
Well, I think that's about time. I bet it's a good time to call it.
that's about Initial D. Would you recommend it?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like,
Give it a try.
It-
Watch the first 12 episodes. Honestly, I think it's a show that like you kind of have to get into it a little bit before giving it a full judgment.
I would argue you watch the first 3 episodes. Like, this is kind of everything, to be fair. But, like,
Watch
if
up
you-
until
if
the
you
first race is done.
finish the first arc of the show, and if you still don't like it, then
Yeah.
you won't like the show. If you like it after that, then keep watching, because you'll like it. It's the same thing. So, I mean,
That's fair.
it's like, yeah, that would be what I would say personally. It's like, if you like the first few, then keep going, you'll like it. If you don't, then just bail out. It's not for you, and that's fine. So, again,
Yeah.
7 out of 10 for me. I think it's good. I think it's
8 out of 10
a fun show.
with an enjoyment rating of 10 out of 10 from me. Or I
A
guess 5 out
10
of
out
5
of
on
10.
Alex's skill.
10 out of 10.
I enjoyed it a 10 out of 10. Would I recommend it? It's an 8 out of 10.
That's crazy.
Technically,
I mean,
it's a 4 out of 10. Musically, it's a 7 out of 10.
musically, it's a
Mystery
10 out of 10 for
factor,
me.
it's a 7 out of 36. You don't know what the mystery factor is, though.
Yeah. No, mystery factor for me is a 14 out of 5. It's
Add
pretty
those
crazy.
together, and we have a triangle out of a circle.
There you go. Found it. That's
All right.
mystery
That's it.
factor's crazy.
Should you watch Initial D? Triangle.
There you go. Triangle.
That is an official triangle endorsement.
That's the triangle
Alright.
seal of approval.
All right. See you next week then.
I guess that's about it. You got
Triangle.
your anime fix. Peace out.